Hi everyone, welcome back to AP Environmental. Today we're going to be discussing pest control methods, which is how we manage the population of pests in our agricultural fields. All right, let's get into it. I'm not going over this. You can read it on your own. Okay, pesticide. Before we move into this, anything that ends in side, SIDES, means to kill. So pesticides literally means to kill pests. So they are chemicals that are toxic and kill pests. Here we go. Rodenticides kill rodents. Fungicides kill fungi. Insecticides kill insects. Herbicides kill plants. Genocides kill humans. Okay? So anything ending in side is to kill. What's in the beginning, the prefix, is what they're killing. Now, just like antibiotic resistance, pests can also become resistant to pesticides with overuse. Genetic biodiversity gives some pests resistant traits to pesticides. These traits come from their DNA, and your DNA is your DNA. We cannot change it. We can kind of change other organisms' DNA with splicing, but that's, a different topic for a different day. But there is natural biodiversity, genetic biodiversity present in all populations and all ecosystems, and some of them are going to have traits that make them resistant to pests. Maybe their enzymes aren't affected by that pest. Maybe they produce a protein or a chemical or an enzyme that breaks down the pesticide trying to harm it. There's a variety of reasons what pests can do to become, or how they are resistant. But overuse of them makes pests more resistant, or pest populations more resistant over time, because those who survive, because they are resistant, will survive, reproduce, and pass down the DNA that makes them resistant to their offspring. That's evolution. That is natural selection. So pesticide artificially selects for pests with resistance by killing all the non-resistant individuals, leaving only the resistant ones. If you guys had me for biology, we did this whole selected for, selected against thing with natural selection. It's coming up again here. Pesticides artificially select for pests that have, the non-favorable trait. In this case, the non-favorable trait would be not having resistance, and the favorable trait would be resistance. Okay, so essentially what I just explained. If you guys watched one of the other red puzzles, I'm recording it on the same night, and I'm still sick. Okay, here we go. So we apply pesticide. Most pests die, but some resistant individuals survive. The proportion of resistant individuals in the pest population grows. They apply the pesticide again with little result. Crop infested with pests. They develop a new pesticide, and the cycle repeats. This is called the pesticide treadmill. And look at this, guys. I mean, this is honestly, what kind of growth does this look like to you guys? This is borderline exponential growth of resistant species over time to pesticides. Okay, so that's a little alarming. Okay, GMOs, genetic modification. We discussed this in a previous video. So again, genetic modification is when we splice beneficial traits into an organism's genome so that they produce that protein that, makes that trait that's beneficial. And it could be things like they're naturally resistant to these pests or whatever. So the gene for pest resistance is added into the plant through genetic modification. We use restriction enzymes. And we discussed this before. BT corn with bacteria gene that produces BT crystals that are toxic to pests. Roundup ready crops are genetically modified to be resistant to broad herbicides. Roundup, meaning Roundup kills weeds but not crops. Okay. Roundup is highly carcinogenic. Highly carcinogenic, but because it works so well, they won't take it off the market. Please stay away from this stuff as much as you can. I unfortunately have a family member who was known, and essentially the testing showed that his cancer was linked to use of this. The rates of cancer linked to use of Roundup is extremely high, but because it is such a fabulously working product, they won't take it off the market. Just like how Tylenol would never be invented today with how deadly it is. Okay, so that's my little spiel. I'm not going to go into this too much. This is not a biology class. We don't have to go into the whole process of all of this. Okay, so BT corn has decreased insecticide use since corn makes its own insecticide. We can see that here. Roundup Ready crops have increased herbicide. Come on, brain. The glyphosate use since crops can't be harmed by it. So, oops. So yeah, it's a little concerning. All right. Genetically modified crops are all genetically identical clones. There's no genetic diversity in the population. We have discussed this previously. If there is a disease or pest that does affect all genetically modified crops, they're all vulnerable, and there's no chance of a genetic mutation providing an adaptive trait. We discussed this in a previous topic. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to go also into this as well because it's super short. So this is more sustainable, better ways that we manage pests, integrated pest management, or IPM. Okay, let's get into it. So, integrated pest management basics, IPM basics, using a variety of pest control methods that minimize environmental disruption and pesticide use. This is what we want. This is good. This is sustainable. So, we want to make sure that we are researching and monitoring pests and targeting methods to specific pest life cycles. This, because the rate of pesticide resistance is so high right now in crops, this right now is a highly profitable field to go into in environmental science. I mean, like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing this stuff. It's insane how much the agricultural big businesses will pay to figure this out. So we're researching and monitoring pests and targeting methods to specific pest life cycles. So we do that. We identify some things. We use the weather. We plan according to thresholds. We do all kinds of different controls. We collect data. We evaluate the effectiveness, and we start again from the beginning. Biocontrol is bringing in a natural predator or parasite to control the pest. So if there is, a species of pest that has a predator, rather than using a pesticide, we just bring in its predator. That doesn't harm the actual crop, it just harms the pest. That's biocontrol. Crop rotation is big too. Again, crop rotation is when we're changing out the crops every other season, or every other season. It doesn't really matter as long as you are changing out the crops every now and then, because certain pests only like a certain kind of crop. They also have their own ecological tolerance and niche. So if we change out the crops, we're more likely to have the same pest invade every single season. Intercropping as well, it's the same thing as crop rotation, except rather than changing out the crops every season, you're making sure that within the fields, you're separating the crops, the whole field, with different crops. That's all. So rather than monocropping, planting all the same crop, you have a variety of crops in the field. Okay, getting more into biocontrol, introducing a natural predator, parasite, or competitor to control the pest population can include actually purchasing and spreading the control organism in fields or building homes for them, planting habitat they need to attract naturally. Ladybugs for aphids. Aphids are a huge pest, and ladybugs are their natural predator. They are carnivorous. They're not they're not to eat plants. Spiders for many pest insects. Gardening, we love spiders. I'm a garden club advisor. Spiders are our friends. That doesn't mean I love spiders. I actually really don't like them, but spiders are our friends in gardening. They don't harm the crop, but they do eat the pest. Parasitic wasp for caterpillars. Okay, crop rotation. Many pests prefer one specific crop or crop family. They lay eggs in the soil, so when the larvae hatch, they have a preferred food source. So rotating crops, planting a different crop each season can prevent pests from becoming established since it disrupts their preferred food source. Okay, again, if you are eliminating the food source, you don't have anything for them to eat. If they have no food, what happens? The pests die. Also disrupts weed growth, since different crops can be planted at different times, preventing bare soil from being taken over by weeds. This is like a little nerd moment, I guess. One of the games I was playing over the summer, it's like a medieval city builder, but you do farming, and they actually had crop rotation, and I was blown away because I've never played a game before that incorporated this stuff. So it was really cool to see actual real environmental practices being implemented in video games. It was cool. Okay, intercropping. A push-pull system can be used. Again, you are planting crops in between other ones. So push, plants emit volatile chemicals that naturally repel pests away from them. Pull, plants emit chemicals that attract moths to lay eggs in them instead of crops. So separating the crops and being able to attract or repel pests. Can provide a habitat or pull plants that emits chemicals that attract natural pest predators. And just like everything, there are also drawbacks. So again, green is good, red is a negative. So a positive, it reduces death and mutation of non-target species from pesticides. Okay, remember, non-target is anything we did not mean to affect, but we inadvertently did. So these are things that we've discussed previously. The one I'm the most familiar with, because I learned about it so much when I read Rachel Carson's A Silent Spring, is DDT causing the bird shell thinning. Reduces effects on human consumers of produce. If you're using a bunch of pesticides on produce, you're eating that, guys, and you're also eating pesticide. Sorry, you are if you're not eating organic produce, which we know is way more expensive. So if we're using this stuff over pesticides, we have reduced consumption of pesticides in our population because many pesticides are carcinogens. They cause cancer. And it reduces contamination of surface and groundwater by agricultural runoff with pesticides. However, it can be time-consuming and costly than just crop dusting. I said earlier, this field is very lucrative because it's not that these companies care about human health or the environment. They just want their crops to be saved, so they have a profit, unfortunately. So it can be time-consuming and costly to implement this. The research, the paying the people to do this, it can be costly. Okay, that's it. Have a good day. I will see you all later in class, next video, whatever. If you need anything, let me know. Bye.